Our lab was the USS Kinnelon, and the main goal of our lab was to shoot a ball out of this cannon and hit a bowling ball using a set distance and solving for theta. The first step in our lab is to solve for the time in which the ball would be in the air so we can initially get our initial velocity. To do this, we have an equation set up here, which is projectile motion for y, and the v0y is always theta, is always 0 because it's horizontal, and so we can go from there. We can solve for the y distance, which is 118 centimeters, because the cannon was horizontal and 118 centimeters off the ground, and we know that the acceleration for gravity is negative 9.8, but in this case we don't need the negative, and we solve for a t of 0.4907 seconds. We can use this later in the x component to find the v0x. The next step would be to put down carbon paper on the ground and shoot the ball horizontally so that we can get an x distance from the x equals 457 centimeters or 4.57 meters. And this is the distance from the cannon to the carbon paper on the initial shot. We can then plug this into the equation and solve for our initial velocity in the x direction. We end up getting, using our time that we solved for before, we end up getting a 9.313 meters per second. And the it's v0x in this case, but in the future when we use an angle, the initial velocity will still be 9.313 meters per second. We can then save this number for later so that we can solve for the theta. When we set up our cannon and bowling ball, we're going to have a set y x distance. The next step would be to solve for the difference in y. The height of the cannon is y1, and we solve for that to be 103 centimeters or 1.03 meters. The height of the target, or the bowling ball, is what we found to be 188 centimeters or 1.88 meters, and that is y2. To solve for y3, or the difference in the two, just subtract, and it comes out to 0.85 meters. X is the distance from the cannon to the bowling ball, and we solve for that to be 4.8 meters. Now we just have to set up the equations and solve for theta. First, you write out your y equation using the y3, which we just solved for. After you get that, afterwards you set up your x equation and you isolate t. Once you're able to isolate t, you plug it back into the y equation which we had above, and you should be left with only theta. You're then able to plug that into a calculator or computer, and you get your theta value of 27.5, and that is the degree on the side of the cannon in which you're going to shoot from.
Ready? Spin it.
Spin it so that this thing.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Try to be creative.
I'll shoot it.
I don't think it's gonna go inside.
Is it at the right setting?
Yep, just pull.
That was close.
It did.
That was very close.
Yeah.
It hit the ball, right?
What?
It hit the ball.
What ball?
He hit it in the
He
middle.
hit the bowling ball.
Oh yeah.